You may now begin your presentation.
The telephone, garbage bags, and standard time. What do these three things have in common? Innovations created right here in Canada.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're Enactus St. Mary's from Halifax, Nova Scotia, and we understand the importance of innovation and the impact it has on our daily lives.
According to The Economist, innovation is the single most important ingredient in a modern economy. Yet Canada's ranking for innovation has been steadily declining. In its report card on innovation, the Conference Board of Canada gave Canada a C and Nova Scotia a D. We're students. We know C's and D's aren't the best. So why are we slipping? And does it matter? By all accounts, Canada's awesome. Clean air, great education, low unemployment. We're doing a lot of things right.
And that's the problem. You see, success breeds complacency. At 6.6%, our unemployment rate is the lowest it's been in more than 2 years. That's something to get excited about until you dig a little deeper and see that it's 15% for youth, and double that for marginalized youth, 50% for those with disabilities, 85% for adults on the autism spectrum. If you only focus on successes, you miss the opportunity to innovate.
Our team understands this challenge. Over the years, we've created a foundation of successful projects. This past year, Options Nova saved taxpayers over $1 million by reducing recidivism rates for female offenders. Options Youth received $480,000 in funding to continue our work with at-risk youth in Halifax. And Autism Works Entrepreneurship franchised its consulting platform for entrepreneurs with autism to 7 Enactus teams coast to coast.
Those are just 3 of our 9 projects, and it would have been easy to just focus on growing them. But again, success breeds complacency. If we only focused on those successes, we'd miss the opportunity to innovate.
So we asked ourselves the question, if we can address the need for innovation, can that in turn address other social needs? We wanted to stop aiming at solutions for today and start aiming at solutions for the future. What does Enactus St. Mary's 2027 look like?
For our team, it meant creating a process innovation and changing the way that we develop ideas. Creating businesses, not just 1 or 2, but many. Scalable, sustainable social enterprises that work with communities. Designing a framework to move an idea from theory to an effective, lean business. And we call this process the pipeline. The pipeline is a social enterprise accelerator that encourages creative problem solving to develop business models for new ideas. By integrating community empowerment with the principles of a lean startup accelerator, we guide participants through a 3-phase process that challenges them to think differently. While traditional accelerators focus on driving existing ideas forward, the output of the pipeline is community-driven businesses that address social, environmental, and economic needs personal to them.
Let's go through it step by step. First is the creation phase, which starts off with an introduction to social entrepreneurship, followed by a discussion on the UN Global Goals for Sustainable Development. Participants identify the global goals that matter the most to them and are challenged to examine those needs in their community. They then move through an ideation process where they develop a business model addressing those needs. Participants generate ideas and use the business model canvas to fill in gaps within their concept. Next is the iteration phase, where they refine their ideas through research and design thinking. They then pitch to the pipeline's advisory board and validate their ideas through customer discovery and the development of a minimum viable product. The third and final phase, the incubation phase, gets participants to create a business plan for their idea. Using the fail fast strategy, they pilot their social enterprises and make the necessary adjustments to secure strong partnerships. Once complete, they create an action plan for controlled growth. And that's the pipeline, taking action to transform ideas into solutions.
We piloted the pipeline last fall within our team, and in the creation phase, a lot of students focused on food waste and food insecurity because these were issues that stood out to us. Access to safe, healthy food is a basic human right. Yet, 1 in 8 Canadians struggle to eat each day. And the main cause is poverty. People literally cannot afford to buy the essentials. And despite this, Canadians are wasting a phenomenal amount of food. Since we began this presentation, Canada has wasted over 100,000 pounds of food. Think about it. People don't have the money to buy food, and yet we're throwing so much of it away. Food waste impacts all of us, and sometimes in ways we don't realize. Every year, food waste in Canada creates 50 million tons of CO2 emissions and wastes 2.5 trillion liters of fresh water. The water loss from food waste is enough to solve the consumption needs of the entire world 4 times. And that's just the social and environmental repercussions. According to the UN, the cost of producing and disposing wasted food is 3.5 times that of its face value. That's $100 billion wasted in Canada every year, or the combined revenues of RBC, TD, and Scotiabank.
Food insecurity and food waste. When we realized that Nova Scotia is the most food insecure province in Canada, yet 40% of our food is going to waste, we knew it could make an impact. Enactus St. Mary's was motivated to take action. Students in the pipeline pitched many ideas. Those lacking a clear direction either pivoted or were abandoned, and the strongest concepts moved forward. Students pitched a low-cost food box, a food token program, and a dry soup business. The food box and token program showed promise, but with no clear direction, the dry soup business was abandoned. Our team saw the opportunity in addressing both needs together through a simple and holistic solution. The idea was the low-cost food box. The business is Square Roots.
Here's the model. Farmers are unable to sell 30% of their crops. Why? Because of what we call ugly produce, food that looks a little different and gets refused by grocers. A potato shaped like an L, an apple that's too big, an onion that's too small. It's a supply in need of a consumer. Now, due to rising food costs, low-income areas struggle to access healthy produce, and food banks rarely house large amounts. They're a consumer in need of a supply, and that's where Square Roots comes in. Square Roots sources imperfect produce from local farmers and works with low-income communities to increase access to affordable fruits and vegetables. We receive orders, sort the produce into bundles, and distribute those bundles to customers at convenient drop-off locations across the city.
Square Roots customers get 10 pounds of fruits and vegetables in every bundle. If they bought this much at a grocery store, it would cost them approximately $20. We wanted to charge $5. After taking into account the cost of produce and transportation, each bundle cost us $4.66. Although doable, 34 cents in profit is a pretty tight margin. To address this, we created a 2-tier pricing model, $10 a bundle if you can afford it, and $5 if you can't. This allows Square Roots to earn better contribution margins on the more expensive bundles.
By applying innovation to our pricing model, we're engaging in what we call social pricing, offering the same product at different price points to address the needs of different income levels. We've proved this works, with 3 times as many customers choosing the $10 bundle over the $5 option. Social pricing was so successful that we also introduced a buy one, give one membership model. For $20 a month, members receive a bundle of fresh produce with an additional bundle given on their behalf to someone in need. Members prepay quarterly, ensuring sustainable cash flow for the business.
When Square Roots was still in the iteration phase of the pipeline, we discovered a direct link to another one of our programs. At-risk youth from our Options Youth project are trained in the pipeline and encouraged to apply entrepreneurial thinking to address problems close to home. 2 participants, Cortrell and McCall, are from the low-income community of Uniacke Square. Each showed a passion for entrepreneurship and understood the problem Square Roots was trying to solve.
Growing up, I was bad. I knew how to find trouble and got in a lot of fights. My father wasn't there for me, and I made some bad choices. But I don't let my past define me. Today, the qualities I find in myself are a strong leader, a very loyal friend, and the best father. I have 3 kids and 1 on the way. My family means everything to me. We live in a stigmatized community, Uniacke Square. After joining the Options Youth program, I was inspired to work with Enactus St. Mary's and start Square Roots. I really wanted to give back to the community and make it a better place for my kids. I saw a good opportunity to point at-risk youth like myself in the right direction. Square Roots is helping me grow as an entrepreneur, and with these skills, someday I hope to own my own club. My name is Cortrell Thomas, and Enactus St. Mary's has helped me open my eyes and see a difference in my community.
Enactus St. Mary's hired Cortrell and McCall as community development managers to help mold Square Roots into a relevant business for Uniacke Square. They helped us organize a soft launch to validate Square Roots, where we spoke with 200 families and distributed over 3,000 pounds of food. We received overwhelming support, as many of the families were all too familiar with not being able to afford a healthy meal every day. We were so impressed by Cortrell and McCall's passion that we shifted Square Roots to a franchise model and promoted them to the owners of the franchise in Uniacke Square.
After only 3 months, Square Roots now operates in 3 communities, has diverted 9,000 pounds of food waste while feeding over 1,000 people. But Square Roots isn't only addressing social and environmental needs. It's creating meaningful economic impact. We have a sustainable supply chain, and we've proven that model in the dead of winter when supply is at its lowest and prices at their highest. This chain of farmers, at-risk youth, and Enactus St. Mary's has resulted in an economic impact of $122,000, set to grow to $771,000 in its first year.
Square Roots doubled its revenue from March to April and is set to double its revenue from April to May. We're expanding to 3 new communities, and earlier this week, Hellman's Foods awarded us with $5,000 as the best food security project in all of Canada. But the pipeline encourages constant innovation. So, Square Roots applied another pipeline idea to its existing structure, the token program. Initially, Square Roots focused on reducing food waste at farms. The token program reduces food waste in restaurants. On average, restaurants lose $60,000 to wasted food and disposal charges every year. This amount exceeds the average profit made by a restaurant in Canada.
Inspired by Save On Meats right here in Vancouver, Square Roots has created a cashless currency where physical tokens are exchanged at partner restaurants for a full meal made from surplus ingredients. Tokens can be purchased for $5, with 80% of the revenues going back to restaurants and 20% being reinvested into Square Roots. Customers can buy tokens for personal use or donate them to someone in need. The token program is increasing revenues for restaurants, but owners are sold on the idea of helping feed people in the community. They're not just excited to be a part of the program, they're actively driving the development of the model.
My name is Shiko Rashaida, and I'm originally from Jordan. This is Basha Halifax. This is Mediterranean Canadian cuisine. We have been in business for 1.5 years now, and being a student at St. Mary's taught us to help the community. And this program, Square Root, we're happy to be partnered with it. Always you have food waste in your restaurant. So with this program at the Square Root, it can help you saving this food and give it to the people who in need for it. And Act at St. Mary's has helped us to look at the food waste around it.
Tokens can be purchased through community partners at the Square Roots website or directly from us after this presentation. We currently have 4 partner restaurants and have served 240 meals since mid-April. With 2 more restaurants joining this month, the token program is expanding rapidly. We're on track to serve 9,000 meals and generate $45,000 in revenue in our first year.
Everyone in the value chain benefits, and that's what makes Square Roots so successful. Farmers and restaurants earn revenue off food that would otherwise go to waste. People have access to healthy food at a low cost. And Enactus St. Mary's earns revenue that can be reinvested to grow current and new initiatives. But most importantly, Square Roots empowers communities and connects people who are hungry with good food going to waste. Square Roots is a simple business model.
When we piloted the pipeline, our hope was to create a funnel approach, get many ideas, and hopefully one would become a successful social enterprise. Square Roots was that one, but it wasn't the only one.
Fruits and vegetables donated to food banks often spoil before they're even distributed. One of our members was inspired to work with 3 Syrian newcomers to launch Peace of the East, a social enterprise that partners with food banks and Square Roots to upcycle fruits and vegetables nearing their expiration. This food is turned into jams and traditional Syrian desserts that are sold at the Halifax Farmers Market. Since launching in January, Peace of the East has generated $10,000 in revenue with over $7,000 in profit.
$3.4 billion worth of food in Canada hits its best before date on a shelf in a grocery store. It gets thrown out even though it's still perfectly safe for consumption. So we created Best Before, a mobile app that alerts consumers of highly discounted food items nearing their best before date. In April, we partnered with a local food retailer to validate our app. When they heard about our work with Square Roots, they were so inspired that they now also sell imperfect produce. We're putting the solution to food waste quite literally into your hands.
For our team, food waste is the solution to food insecurity, and we've created the social enterprises to address both. Diverting ugly produce, creating a cashless currency, upcycling food donations, and we built an app. And that's what the pipeline does, connects needs to develop solutions.
To ensure the pipeline's continued impact, we've received operational support from St. Mary's University and $15,000 in funding from Scotiabank. We're using this money to develop a seed fund to ensure that pipeline social enterprises can grow to address new needs in new communities. What makes the pipeline so easily scalable is that it's modular and adaptive. It could be transferred from one community to the next. We've run the pipeline within our team, with local partners, and even with high schools in the Bahamas. This summer, we're set to run the pipeline in First Nations communities, with individuals on the autism spectrum, and even youth in rural Nova Scotia.
This year, the pipeline created 7 social enterprises that have generated $160,000 in economic impact, diverted 11,000 pounds of food waste, and empowered 23 entrepreneurs. No single idea will solve the world's problems. But by solving the need for innovation, we are accelerating the process.
Innovation is the single most important ingredient in a modern economy.
We understand the importance of innovation and the impact it has on our daily lives.
By addressing the need for innovation, we are addressing other social needs.
9 projects, 7 social enterprises, and 1 process.
This is Enactus St. Mary's of 2027. Not about ideas, but about making ideas happen.
We will now begin the question and answer period.
Great job, guys. Question, your process and pipeline to eliminate ideas. I'd be curious, why did the soup one not make the cut? So how do you decide what moves forward versus what doesn't?
It really came down to where the ingredients were going to be sourced from. Were we going to pull those directly from the valley? And someone thought, oh, maybe we could even dehydrate them and just put them into little bags as a dry soup. But then we thought, well, if we're getting food from the valley, then why not dehydrate it and just use a food box? It's getting food to people in the city that wouldn't normally be able to get it. So that was the reason why the dry soup business kind of was abandoned.
Could you give us a little bit more information about the Best Before app? How do you sign up the vendors, and how do you attract customers, and what's the plan going forward in terms of scale of this project?
Absolutely. So the Best Before app, that's something that we launched a month ago, and we made a partnership with a local food retailer who really just saw an opportunity here. So when it comes to the financing aspect of things, every month, the 5% of the Best Before marked products, that revenue would go back to expanding the Best Before network itself. But it really is just food that's going to waste, so it's an opportunity for them to save money. All of everything that we're doing with food waste and food security is about creating more knowledge on the topic. More people that know about something like this, the more reason they're on board for it. And we have a large network in Nova Scotia. We've built it up within all of these projects. So other grocers have been interested already. It's just a matter of building up the infrastructure to keep it moving forward.
So with Square Roots, what's your distribution model? It seems like there's a good local distribution model. How do you scale that?
So scaling the local distribution aspect is, we have one specific region in Nova Scotia with a lot of farms, but that's not the only place in Canada with a lot of farms. So it's really quite convenient is anywhere that has a supply of food that's going to waste, which is everywhere in the world, you really just need to be able to connect one community champion to be able to run that aspect. Someone who believes in the program, who can follow through with the fidelity of the model to keep it going forward. And when it comes to the sourcing back and forth, there's a lot of trips made between rural and urban settings, and it's really just finding those connections that we've not had any issues with thus far, because people want to support the social aspect of things, and it's food that's good that is just sitting there.
B to this question, I'm still not clear about how you get the products from the farm to the different communities. Are you saying that you're partnering with the farmers or transportation companies? How are you getting the stuff in the different regions?
Yeah, so right now we incur the cost for transportation. However, in the summer, supply increases quite a bit, and these farmers are making trips down to Halifax to drop that off. So with our partnerships with those farms, they're actually going to be, throughout the summer, bringing the produce into the city for us.
We also have a just-in-time system, so we bring the produce into the city the day before, and then we have drops that take place, and our customers come and pick up the orders that they had ordered the week before.
So is it a subscription model then? Are they ordering in advance and coming as a repeat customer then?
Yes, we have a couple of repeat customers. We do reach out to our customers every week because we are a team that's addressing food waste. We don't want to be wasting food that we can't sell. So it is a pre-order system, and the word has been spreading like wildfire, so it's just been rolling from there.
Hi. Considering your target audience, have you had any unintended consequences, or perhaps how are you working with the groups that were already providing food, such as Missions and Salvation Army and such? Are you potentially taking food out of their hands to be able to do this product?
Actually, what was really shocking was when we first went into Uniacke Square, they had a food bank there, and it was open for 3 hours a month. That's crazy for a low-income social housing area. And so that was one of the first kind of signs that there's not enough support put towards this. Government platforms are not putting emphasis on food security and poverty. And if other people want to go towards that movement, it's phenomenal. What food banks are doing is great. But having other services and other options is something that we've certainly not encountered as a barrier. Other people doing similar things as us, we work with them because we want to make this a solution that will hit as many people as possible.
I'm just curious on the relationship between the pipeline and the portfolio companies. Are they all for-profit or are some non-profit? And what's the business model for the pipeline?
Your time has expired. Judges and guests, please help me in thanking the team from St. Mary's University.